of your
Uh,
brain. You can actually
gonna
go
keep
into
playing
a
this guy.
coma. So we don't get hydrated just from
He likes
water.
playing different openings though.
Now, on the flip side, I'm not against water. I drink water, and I think you should too. But this concept of, carrying your gallon jug of water and just forcing yourself to drink all day long might not be the wisest thing you can do, especially if you start bypassing the normal thirst mechanism that our body was designed to tell you if you're thirsty or not. When you're not thirsty and you force your body to drink a lot of water, you can end up in trouble, especially if you exercise. There's an incredible book by this, written by an exercise physiologist, with a lot of research in long distance runners and even ultra marathon runners in relationship to hydration and if they should be drinking just a ton of water when they're not thirsty. They can end up with low sodium and actually create a big problem with their health. And then you have a lot of other fluids that you drink through the day that can create a diuretic effect. You can actually lose more water and become dehydrated when you drink things with caffeine, like coffee, tea, sodas. Anything you drink with caffeine is very dehydrating. And of course, alcohol, right? If you reflect back on the last time you drank a lot of alcohol the next morning, you're going to be completely dehydrated. That's why you have a headache. That's why your lips are dry. So, alcohol is a diuretic and it tends to dehydrate you as well. And then, what about fruit juice? Okay, would that be hydrating? Well, here's the data with glucose. Let's just take a diabetic, for example. What happens with someone with high sugar? They're peeing a lot, they have urinary frequency, and they're thirsty a lot too. So, the more sugar in your blood, the more your body's going to get rid of water, and the more dehydrated you're going to be. And so, fruit juices, sodas, things with sugar will greatly dehydrate you. Now, what's fascinating is that you have all these electrolyte sport drinks with added sugar. And apparently, the idea is that if you're exercising, you need some sugar to replace the loss of glucose, right, when you exercise. And they call this hydration. But is it really hydrating you? Does consuming glucose hydrate you? I'm going to tell you it dehydrates you. It pulls water from the cell. There is an interesting study, which I'll put down below. It's called the Nurses Health Study 2, which they did on a certain age group from 9 to 15. Now,
Okay.
this study wasn't about
Play
hydration,
D4.
but it was interesting because it revealed an unknown consequence of drinking these healthy sports drinks. Now, the study found that if a teenager or young adult was consuming at least one soda a day, they would have an extra pound of weight. And this is what they found. And I'm going to just generalize here. Teenagers that consumed one soda a day on a regular basis gained an additional 2 pounds of weight. Whereas those who consumed at least one sports drink a day, okay, these so called healthy sports drinks with electrolytes but with added sugar, gained 3.5 pounds of fat extra on their bodies. So the sports drink produced more fat than the sodas. Now, this is probably because the sports drinks usually come in like 32 ounces
This kind of
and
makes
sodas
sense.
come in
I think
12
I'd take
ouncer.
that.
So when you look at the label, you have to look at the serving size. And
Take that
rarely
and
does
play like
anyone just drink
C4.
one serving size. They drink the whole thing. And there's more serving size in sports drinks. Now, even when people are consuming electrolyte powders, many times these electrolyte powders and electrolyte drinks, and I won't mention any names, contain added sugar. And some per serving size contain like 11 grams of sugar per serving size.
And that like
Now,
that
there's four
forces
grams of
the
sugar
C
per
file
teaspoon.
open, which
So
is
that's just under three
pretty strong.
teaspoons of sugar for one serving size. Okay. And we're not talking about like a whole bottle. We're just talking about one serving size or one of those little stick packs of electrolytes. Not to mention the source of the sugar. Was it beet sugar? Probably it was. And most of the beet sugar in the US is total GMO with traces of glyphosate, which is an herbicide. And even if they're doing sugarcane, unless it's organic, is going to have also traces of glyphosate. So that's on top of the sugar effect. So we have this effect of drinking more water. If you're going to add electrolytes to it, and then you have the electrolytes with glucose, which basically is going to stop any ability to burn fat. And the only thing it probably would do for hydration is if someone had diarrhea, for example. There are types of oral rehydration therapies where they're adding glucose to minerals because in the intestine, the glucose will help retain sodium. So that's a different situation than if you're exercising and trying to be hydrated, or if you're not exercising and trying to be hydrated. To truly hydrate the cell, you need all the electrolytes. You need sodium, potassium, chlorides, calcium, and magnesium. Now, the professor who wrote the book Waterlogged, which I'm going to put a link down below, had some fascinating information in relationship to drinking more than what you're thirsty for. You have a thirst mechanism, and some people will say, well, we don't really know when we're thirsty. We just have to force our body to drink so much water, and that's just the way it is. But he evaluated tremendous amounts of data, and he looked at studies that weren't funded by companies like Gatorade, for example. And he found that even runners, long distance runners, when they drink too much water, when they're not thirsty, they get into trouble. I think a really good principle would be to drink when you're thirsty and don't ever force yourself to drink too much, okay? Because you can start to dilute these electrolytes. Now, on the flip side, if you're prone to a kidney stone, you need to be drinking at least 2.5 liters of fluid every single day. But I would also add electrolytes to that. Now, are there any tests that you can do to see if you're drinking too much water? Sometimes people say, well, check your color of your urine and it should be clear. But I think there's a better test. In fact, it's pretty inexpensive. You could buy on Amazon or another platform these little urine strips that measure something called specific gravity. And that will give you a good rough estimate on whether you're slightly dehydrated or you're really dehydrated or you've drinking too much water. Because on this urine strip that you're going to get, you're going to measure a lot of different things, but specific gravity measures and compares the density, how concentrated your urine is to actual water. Now, water has a specific gravity or density of 1. And urine, if it's normal, should have a density of 1.002 to 1.030. So if your urine specific gravity is low, okay, and what I mean by low is if it's less than 1.010, you have mild dehydration. So the closer you are to the specific gravity of water, which is 1.000, the less electrolytes you have, and the more you need to take electrolytes or drink less water. So specific gravity kind of tells you the concentration of particles in your urine. And of course, when you drink a lot of water, you dilute that. A lot of the electrolytes that you're going to get will come from your food if you eat healthy. But also realize there are things that you're consuming that are depleting your electrolytes too, like refined sugar, like alcohol, like the things that I mentioned that act as a diuretic. But this video is primarily on just drinking water. There is a situation of drinking too much water.
So let's go queen c7 and like checkmate.
And so there are a lot of variables. If you're working out, it's hot outside, and you have a very high metabolism, man, you need to drink a lot of water. Just make sure you drink the electrolytes.
That is his goal, but I always have f4.
But for the general person who doesn't really work out that much, and it's not.
And now he doesn't have queen c7
I would pay
because
attention to your thirst. I would use that as a guide, and try not to force yourself to drink more than what your body really should be taking. Now, I think the best next video for you to watch would be my video on electrolytes. Okay, so check it out. I put it right here.
What does an electrolyte do?
Now we're going to talk about 5 electrolytes. There are others like phosphorus and bicarbonates. Those tend to buffer the pH if things are too acid or too alkaline. But I'm going to focus on these 5 right here. Let's start with sodium. Sodium is a mineral that helps hydrate things because water is attracted to it. And of course, if you have too much sodium, you're going to retain fluid.
So,
but if you don't have enough sodium, you're not going to hydrate the cells as well. Also, sodium is involved in oxygen transport. So if you're getting swelling in the red blood cells, for example, you're not going to be able to carry oxygen to the body, and you're going to actually kind of run out of air. So you could have all sorts of problems with endurance, for example, if you're low in sodium. Let's say you you do this huge workout and you're sweating and you lose your sodium, you're going to be very, very tired, and you're not going to be able to like walk up the stairs because you're going to run out of oxygen. Sodium also works with chloride, as in salt, for various things, but sodium also works with other minerals like potassium. There's a pump called the sodium potassium pump, and the purpose of that pump is to generate electrical potential. And you can look at that as like a battery. It's basically these two are necessary in making sure that there's enough electrical charge inside that cell, because your cells are mini batteries. They have voltage. And the reason why your body is designed like that is to power the nerve and muscle interaction, the contraction of the muscle and the firing of the nerves. Okay, so if you don't have enough sodium or potassium, that pump can't work, and you're not going to be able to activate the nerve impulses or the muscles to work. So there's a lot of problems that can happen with potassium deficiency and sodium deficiency, and you're going to feel tired and weak on both of these right here. Now, when we get to magnesium, magnesium controls the absorption of sodium and potassium. So this is a very important mineral as well. Most of the population is deficient in magnesium. Magnesium is at the core of chlorophyll, which is in all the leafy greens. An average person consumes probably a cup and a half of vegetable per day, and they're usually deficient in magnesium. Magnesium also is associated with oxygen, like sodium, but it's mainly about relaxation of the muscle, whereas calcium is about the muscle contraction. So these work together to contract and relax the muscle. So magnesium is there to also prevent cramping. So when you're deficient in magnesium, you get muscle cramps. But if you're deficient in calcium, you can also get muscle cramps. Magnesium is really necessary in your workouts, especially if you do long workouts or intense workouts. Let's say you're doing a bench press where you're doing some type of intense pushing motion or something that you have to have some sustained contraction, then you need a lot of magnesium. And so if you find that you can't work out very long or very intensely, you may need magnesium or you may need calcium. I notice when people are deficient in calcium, they lose their grip strength. They just cannot lift as much weight. But calcium is also about neuromuscular excitability. So it's the nerve stimulus of the muscle, just like potassium, right?
So
If there is a calcium deficiency, what can happen is you can get too much of this and get tetany, where you have this little twitching going on, either in the left eye, your arm, or throughout the body. Now, this can also happen in the heart, too. So heart palpitations really are a problem with electrolytes. When you're low in calcium, you get a muscle cramp, and you'll also have skeletal muscle weakness. And then chloride works with sodium, and it has everything to do with hydration. Now, there's a lot of other functions of these minerals that relate to other things that aren't associated with the electrolytes, so I just wanted to focus in on these electrolytes for this video. Hey, before you go real quick, I have a course entitled How to Bulletproof Your Immune System. It's a free course. I want you to take it, and here's why. Here's you. Here is your environment. Everyone is focused on this over here, avoiding your environment. But what about here? What about strengthening your immune system? That's what's missing. This course will show you how to bulletproof yourself, and so you can tolerate and resist your environment much better by strengthening your own immune system. I put a link down in the description right down below. Check it out and get signed up today.
Yeah, bishop c1 almost traps the queen. So we'll probably go for that at some point. Right. bishop d3. I'm gonna play bishop c1, I think. Or wait. Queen check. Wait, lots of good moves. 1 second. So rook c1. Should be 5, queen a5 check. Could go bishop c4. Bishop b5, queen a5. Wait, wouldn't rook takes one though? Yeah, but then just queen b1. Let's see. I mean, a lot of good options, but I think we just go here. It's just the most simple option. Sweet. Let's see. Check f6. Let's see. Bishop b5 too is a move. Yeah, I take that for sure. Stop thinking about it. Just play d5 probably. Let's see. If he goes back, then I check. It's a lot of checks to look at. So you have. I'm confused there. So yeah, you could take. There's a lot of options here. What the fuck? You could take the queen. Which is probably the best option. And you play check. Whoa, what the fuck? That hurts my brain. God damn it. Take on d4. I'm not gonna take it.
Check.
I'll keep my options. Oh. Yikes. Yeah, okay. I should have just done this.
Check.
It's over.
Check.
It's silly over. I just needed.
Check.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I just missed this mate, but
Check.
forgot this guy's defending my one square there. Of course. Like this guy, literally, like every game I play against him, it's the same. It's like, just completely winning, completely winning, completely winning.
Check.
And then,
Check.
silly little trick and some time pressure. GG.